It's very popular to think of this world as being a school where we learn lessons to perfect ourselves so that we evolve, and so that our soul learns lessons and that we become more perfect and that we grow in wisdom. And it's also popular to believe that there can be many lifetimes that it takes to achieve all the learning that needs to happen in order to reintegrate with the soul. And I think that's a very good model, and I think that there's a lot of there's a lot of wisdom that can be gleaned from that. But the only problem that I see with that is that people assume that the lessons that they learn here are lessons that they've learned through pain. And that's very kind of prevalent. In fact, that's usually the way you learn your lessons, is through hard work, struggle, and pain. And that's how you earn sort of your karmic brownie points so that you get better karma. And there's all kinds of evidence that of this belief all throughout the history of this world and of the species. You see that with the martyring of saints and freedom fighters, and just the way that the way that you really can show that you're something is by how much pain you can endure. And the reality of the situation is that God would never want that for you. And when I say God, I'm talking about infinite intelligence. I'm not talking about a patriarchal deity. I'm talking about the God and the goddess, the mother and the father. It's very important to understand that infinite love, perfect love that created you out of perfect love, why would that force want you to learn through pain? Why would that be something that would be helpful? The reality that I've come to understand is that God would much rather us learn through joy. That's the best way to learn. And you can look at this just by how do children learn? How do animals learn? They can learn through pain, and so can you. We can all learn however we decide that we're going to. But the lessons that, like if you're training a dog, they learn so quickly and so well by positive reinforcement, by treats and by rewards and by, good boy, good girl. And, maybe occasionally a little no, just to distract them. But beating the dog when they've done something wrong, that usually just confuses them and makes them neurotic and destroys the happiness that they could have had for the rest of their life, because then you've created a neurosis in them that they don't know how to undo. The same thing with children. They're much better. They respond much better to positive reinforcement, to love, occasionally a no, to distract them from bad behavior. But mostly the best lessons that any child learns are learned through joy and through love and through peaceful means. And if you punish a child severely or beat the child or somehow, quote, teach them a lesson by doing something mean to them, that all that does is, they might learn that little lesson, but at what price? At what price? They may have a pattern that has developed, a neurotic pattern that has developed for their entire life that they'll never be able to undo, even with the most expensive of therapy. So when we decide that learning our lessons must come through pain, we're doing ourselves a huge disservice, because we tend to get what we expect out of life. So if we are expecting painful lessons, then those lessons will be learned through pain. But remember that that's not God's will. That's our own will. That's a will that's been thwarted. So when we say learn lessons, what are the lessons that we need to learn? The most important lesson that you need to learn is who you are. And then the next most important lesson to learn is why you're here. And then the next important lesson after that is how can you fulfill that function? So who you are is an extension of pure love. When you are created, it's by an act of extending love. So infinite love, perfect love, extended itself as you. And that's how you're created. And there's nobody like you. You're completely unique. Now, in this world, when we try to cover up our soul for whatever reason, we develop this ego. We have this idea that we have to separate ourselves from this idea, that this soul of ours. One of the things that we do is we try to conform and become just like everybody else. But that's not how you're created. You're created as a unique expression. You are literally light in extension. That's who you are. You are an extension of light, like a beam of light right out of a sun or a star. That's who you are. Actually, you are a star. You are a star in the company of stars. That's how you're created. You're just an extension of light, light and extension. How do you learn that you're light and extension? Through pain. How is that possible? How is it possible that you can experience the immense love that God has for you through pain? You can't. You can't. The only thing that you can learn through pain is how to avoid more pain. So in that regard, yeah, having the stove be hot is good, because then you go, ow, and you don't burn your hand off. So yeah, in that regard, pain can be useful in this world. But to learn your lessons through pain is a misnomer, because, like I said, your most important lessons to learn is who you are, and then why you're here, and then how you can fulfill that function. Those are your three main lessons. And who you are is an extension of pure love. Why you're here is to shine. That's why you're here. You're to shine. You are here to shine. You are here to be a light in the world. That's who you are. You are a light of the world. And how do you learn how to shine your light? Through lessons of darkness, which is what pain is. Pain is the absence of good. Pain is the thwarting of good. So how would that even make sense logically? So you're here to extend love to other people. You are here to bring light to the world. So part of that is going to be forgiveness. If you have grievances or grudges, or you're holding things against other people, that's one way to spread light in this world and to bring light into this world is through forgiveness. And you understand, though, that when you forgive someone, it's not an act of pain to forgive someone. It's actually the opposite. It's the releasing of pain. It's the letting go of pain when you forgive someone. Forgiving someone is the end of pain, not the beginning of pain. So you're not learning through pain when you forgive someone. When you heal someone, when you bring healing to someone, you don't do that through pain, do you? Bringing more pain into the situation, how does that heal somebody? That doesn't make sense, does it? So who I am, why I'm here, and how I can fulfill my function here, none of those things can be learned through pain. So the more pain that we experience here, the more we're delaying learning the lessons we came here to learn. So part of our job here is to allow ourselves to forget bad lessons that we've learned. The reason why we're looking for pain in this world is because we were taught that pain was necessary. We were taught that pain was good. We were taught that the way to make ourselves better is to go through painful experiences. And so the first thing we have to do to actually learn our lessons is to undo that pain. is to let go of that pain, right? Is to learn anew. So we have to recognize that we've learned lessons from this world that are not true. And without questioning what we think we know, we're stuck there. We've imprisoned ourselves in a world of untruth because we've learned lessons that are wrong. We've tried to believe that 2 and 2 is 5, and then we don't understand why nothing works for us. That's where pain is. Pain is believing that something is there that's not there, or believing that something is not there that is there. Because the only thing that's there is light. The only thing that's really here is God's love for you and your love for God. And the way that we love God, and again, God is not patriarchal. God is simply infinite love. In order to love God, we love God through loving God's children. And we've made ourselves believe that loving God's children is painful. That loving other people is painful. That bringing light and comfort and joy to other people is painful. And that the more pain that we have, I guess the better we are at it. Okay, so that's a lesson we need to unlearn. That's an erroneous lesson. That's a wrong lesson. Oh, thank you, everybody, for your lovely donations. It's very kind of you. It's a very wrong lesson that we need to unlearn. And so that's why when we go about our day, when we look at something, we have to say, I don't really know what this is. I only think I do because I've learned incorrectly and I need to be taught again. And that's why we each have our own teacher. That's why you have a teacher. You were created with one. You were created with a constant connection to infinity, to infinite spirit. You were never left alone here. We can turn our back to our teacher. We can close our eyes to our teacher. We can close our ears to our teacher, but that doesn't mean that our teacher is not there. So when we are trying to teach ourselves rather than learn from our teacher, that's when we get into these bizarre lessons of, oh, I need pain in order to learn. I need to learn with pain. I need more painful experiences, and that will make me grow. That will make me better. That's something we taught ourselves. That does not come from God. That does not come from spirit. And that definitely doesn't come from your teacher. And so what we need to do is get into the habit when we look upon the world, we look upon especially problems in the world. When we look upon the world, we say, I thought I knew what this was, but it's possible I don't really know what this is. And so since I see everything through the glasses that I've put on my face, which are the lessons I've taught myself, I don't really know what anything looks like. So I want to take off those glasses and let my teacher show me the truth about whatever this is. If you go into any situation already understanding, I don't know how to learn the lesson of this situation because I taught myself really poorly. I taught myself some really stupid ass lessons about how things work. And so I don't want to go forward based on the things that I taught myself. I want to be shown the truth. And when you allow yourself to be shown the truth, when you allow that inner guide to show you the truth, you recognize pain is not part of the equation. Pain is not part of God's plan for you. Pain is not part of Spirit's plan for you. Never has been, and it never will be, because pain is not part of who Spirit is. Pain is something that we've come up with in this world because we've come up with this idea of separating ourselves from Spirit, which is impossible, but it's still that insane idea. It can still be projected onto our experience, projected onto the screen of space. And that's why we live in an insane world, because everybody's coming to this world with this insane idea that we're separate from infinite spirit. And therefore, pain is what we need. Pain is the king here. This is a world of pain. But it doesn't have to be that way, and because it's not that way in reality. So when we ask Spirit to show us the truth instead of our ideas that we're projecting onto the screen of space, then, like I say, it's sort of like if you're a designer and you put a bunch of overlays on top of your design, like those little plastic sheets, you put overlays on a light table. If you put enough overlay on top of something, it obscures the original design completely, or it distorts it so much that you don't really know what it is anymore. And that's what we are living in. We're living in this world where we're projecting a bunch of false ideas onto reality. And because we are light in extension, we are powerful, powerful, powerful beings. We are spiritual giants, projecting ideas that we are nothing, projecting ideas that we are less than, that we are that we are these little insignificant beings that have to grasp and learn through painful experiences. When we project that onto the screen of space, that's the world we start experiencing. But the reason why that's an insane world is because it's not the world God created. That's just overlays that we all have on this world. And we're really, really good at overlaying stuff onto this world. We do that really well. We were created to be overlayers. But we're supposed to overlay onto the world God's ideas, not our own ideas separate from God, not these false ideas of pain. So if we look at any situation and just say, I know I'm looking at a bunch of overlays that I've projected onto the screen of space. I know that I'm distorted here because I've taught myself a bunch of lessons that aren't real, that aren't true. I'm trying to prove that 2 + 2 = 12 or whatever. So I want to unlearn the false lessons I've learned, and I want to be taught the reality. I want to be taught the truth about what this really is. And then our inner teacher can remove the overlays and show us the reality. And then we understand that what we're here to do is to teach everybody else through our own actions, not necessarily by lecturing like I'm doing, but through our own actions, that we can learn through joy instead of pain. That we are each here to bring light. And that once we accept our function as light bearers, as bringers of light into this world, then it's really easy for everybody to start seeing the truth. Because everybody's coded to see the truth. It's natural to see the truth. It's natural to want to go on your right path. It's natural to want to unlearn the wrong lessons that we've taught ourselves. It's natural to want to be happy and joyous and free. That's normal. It's what takes a lot of energy is to avoid that, is to create false realities where we are trying to learn the lessons of light through darkness. We're trying to learn the lessons of joy through pain. Does that make any sense even once you really look at it logically? That more darkness, how is that going to teach you the lesson of light? If you are light, then what is studying darkness going to do for you? If you are joy, what is studying pain going to do for you? If you are all peace, what is studying war going to do for you? All it's going to do for you is confuse you and allow your creative abilities that project, like I said, that put these overlays onto the world, that create reality, that create experiences for you. All it's going to do is distort that ability so that you're living in a very scary, hostile, painful world that's not of God's making. That's of your making. That's of everybody's making. But the really good news is darkness is extremely vulnerable to light, but light is not vulnerable at all to darkness. Therefore, you're not vulnerable to any of these things. You just think you are. I mean, you can believe you are because you're powerful. You can have any kind of experience that you choose to. You can believe that you're vulnerable and that it's scary and that pain is the reality. And you can do that for lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. But if you start asking your guide to show you the truth, they're going to say, that none of that's real. You know that none of that's real, that you're all light, that you're all love, that you're perfect joy, that you are actually already happy, that you are already prosperous, that you're already free, that you have everything that you need and want and desire, and that you live in perfect harmony and peace in the kingdom of heaven. That's where you are and what you're doing right now. But you don't know it because you're asleep, because you're so busy overlaying this world with a bunch of stuff that's not there. And then wondering why everything is hurting so much. So our highest function here is to remember those three things. Who am I? Why am I here? And how can I fulfill my function as to why I'm here? And if you remember those three things, and you allow that guidance from within you to show you what all of those three things are, then you can stop teaching yourself false lessons. You can stop teaching yourself how to be, do, and have things that hurt you. And instead, enjoy the lessons that God has for you. And those are lessons of peace. Those are lessons of joy. Those are lessons of pleasure. Those are lessons of infinite life, infinite peace. And in that reality, there is nothing but that. It's infinite. It's happily ever after, just like in a fairy tale. That's what happily ever after is. That's what heaven is, if you want to use that term. It's not a place that you go up to in the clouds. It's your actual home where you're living right now. That's where you live right now. And it doesn't matter what culture you come from or what you call it. Every culture has something like that. Whether it's Valhalla or the Summerland or Avalon or whatever you want to call it. It's that place within you that is a place of perfect peace, pure light, and it's eternal. And that's where you live right now. And that's what your teacher wants to show you. But your teacher can only show you that by helping you unlearn the things that you've taught yourself. And so those are like addictions. Pain is an addiction here. And the problem also is that we mix up pleasure and pain. We've taught ourselves some really weird lessons. A lot of the things we think are real pleasurable are not. And a few of the things that we think are really painful are not. Like when you sit in silence for several minutes, thinking only thoughts of peace and love and joy and truth, that can be excruciatingly painful for some people because it's so different from the reality which they've taught themselves. And so they think, I can't meditate, or I can't do that. It's just too hard. I can't stand that. Well, the reason why they can't stand it is because it's not painful. And they're expecting it to be painful. They think that they need the pain. They're addicted to the pain. So when you take the pain away, they say, "Oh, that painlessness is hurts. That joy is painful. That light is painful." But it's not. It's not. It's just that they've taught themselves everything upside down. So that's why you need help. And that's why you've been given help. Show me what this means. Show me what I'm supposed to do here. Show me where I am, why I'm here, where to go, what to say, who to say it to. Every single step of the way. You get into that habit of just saying, I know I'm not seeing things clearly. I know this isn't really what's there. I know I've put a bunch of my own stuff on top of this whole thing. I'm really good at projecting my own neurotic, weird ideas and belief systems onto my world. I am starting to understand that. And so I'm going to just assume that what I'm looking at is not the truth. I'm going to assume it's my version of the truth. But I want to be shown the truth. So teacher, please help me. Please help me unlearn what I've put onto this screen. And instead, I want you to show me what God put onto that screen for me. And then you start to learn that pain has never been a good teacher. It isn't a good teacher, and it never will be a good teacher. Like I said, the only time pain is a good teacher is temporarily only in this world for your body. to help you know that your body's got to get some attention, to stop touching the hot stove, things like that. Yes, it can have a use in that regard. But in reality, none of that's real either. In reality, that's not what's happening. In reality, God only knows you as you are. And that's as their beloved child in whom they are well pleased. I love that pronoun for God, they. If you remember that you are a divine extension of God's light and love, and that God already loves you, you don't have to learn lessons to earn God's love for you. You can't earn God's love. And you know what else you can't do? You can't unearn God's love. You could be the worst person in the history of the world, and it wouldn't make one bit of difference to God as far as how God loves you. You don't have the power within you to stop God's love for you. And so the idea that you would even want to do that is one of those overlays that we have to unlearn. And that's what our teacher is there for, is to show us, I don't want that. You don't want that. What you want is this. You don't want that, but you want this. And that's what that teacher is there for. And if you just ask and get into the habit of asking, that's all you need to do. That's all you need to do, because then you're putting yourself in the right relationship with divinity and saying, I'm not God. I'm not God, but I'm powerful. I'm powerful. I'm a God. I'm very powerful. So I want to use my power wisely, but I don't know how. Please show me. And what a wonderful thing that is. Can you imagine if you just realized that you had this amazing power within you, that anything you touched was going to change, but you had to make sure that your thoughts were focused on what you wanted it to change into? Well, that's exactly who you are, right? So you'd want to know, you'd want to be taught once you realized how powerful you were, right? You'd want to, please show me what do I do with this power? I don't want to turn things into things I don't want anymore. What do I do? What do I do? That's why you call your teacher. It's not because you're so insignificant and weak and bad and stupid that you need a teacher. No, it's that you are starting to realize, I'm super powerful. I am so powerful, and I don't really know how to handle all this power. Help me, show me what to do with all this power so that I can use it in an appropriate way, so that I'm not constantly creating more pain for myself. Instead, I'm going to create more of God's will for me. I'm going to be on the same beam as God's will. That's called Aleister Crowley called that your true will. Why you're here is your true will, and it's super duper unique. It's very unique unto you. It's a bunch of talent. It's a bunch of ability. It's a bunch of desire. It's a bunch of your soul having a real clear beeline to certain things, to certain behaviors, to certain projects, to certain ways of being that are unique unto you. Now that's your will. That's God's will for you, and that's your will. Your will for yourself, your true will for yourself, and God's will don't diverge. They are in 100% accord. But the problem is we don't recognize our true will here, because we are so preoccupied with darkness. We are so preoccupied with the past. We don't even know what's going on. We're so preoccupied with projecting all kinds of weird belief systems and lessons that we've taught ourselves onto the screen of space that we don't even know what's going on. So to say, my true will. We don't know what our true will is. It's completely obscured. But that doesn't matter because our teacher knows your true will. Your teacher knows your true will. And so all you have to do is desire to know your true will. And your teacher will show it to you, will reveal it to you. And then it's just up to you to remind yourself again and again and again to ask, ask, ask. They call that the knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel in many ancient magical paths. But even with that, back then, in order to get the knowledge and conversation of your holy guardian angel, you had to go through all this pain to get there, to prove yourself worthy. That's not God's will. That's not how it works. You get the knowledge and conversation of your holy guardian angel by asking for it. By asking for it and then listening to it. It's really that simple. You don't have to go through all kinds of pain in order to get that. In fact, it's the opposite. Once you start talking to your holy guardian angel, that's the end of pain. Because then you're aligned with God's will, which means that you're aligned with your true will, which means that you can go forth and create the way that you were intended to. And no more pain. It doesn't mean you stop learning. It means you start learning. You stopped learning the minute that you started to teach yourself. And you know you're teaching yourself when you start having an experience of pain in this world, when you start having experiences of darkness, and you think that you don't know the way out, and so then you figure things out all by yourself, which compounds the problem. Instead, we're going to call on that inner teacher, that guardian angel, and we're going to learn. And we're going to say, please help me unlearn my own lessons and show me what you would have me know. I want to learn who I am, why I'm here, and how to fulfill my function. And I know that that means that no longer do I learn through pain, but I learn through joy. And I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for taking some time with me today. I really appreciate you being here. Until next time, blessed be.